Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this webinar on the ERC Advanced Grant Call 2020. In this 45-minute webinar, I will give you some information on how to get prepared to submit an ERC Advanced Grant proposal. Participation in this webinar will hopefully enable you to get insightful hints for your submission. This webinar is organized by Euresearch, my organization, for the ERC Advanced Grant candidates who would like to submit their proposal within a Swiss institution. My name is Véronique Sordet, and I am the Swiss National Contact Point together with Katia Wirth, who will be your moderator in the chat today. You can reach us with the email address erc@euresearch.ch. Please note that you will get this presentation after the webinar in a follow-up email and a private link to the recording. You are and will remain muted during the entire duration of the webinar. We will also not use the camera. You will be able to interact with us for any problem via the chat. We are recording this webinar, but the chat session will not appear in the recording. During and after this webinar, you will have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat room. My colleague Katia is here to answer you. We will remain 15 minutes after the webinar. After that, you will have the occasion to contact us directly via email. Please note that for confidentiality reasons, we will not share the chat. Before starting, I would like to briefly introduce you Euresearch. Euresearch is the Swiss guide for European research and innovation financed by the Swiss government. We inform, advise, and connect you for your needs related to European research and innovation program. We are a network of 10 offices placed in 10 different regions in Switzerland. Your office in your region is your entry point to benefit from your research services. This is especially true regarding your ERC submission, since they will be the one who will support you to set up your budget, prepare your host institution letter, and answer institutional questions. But let's talk about that later on. There is no wrong entry door at your research. Your regional office or your NCP will be happy to answer and support you. If you intend to carry out your ERC project in an institution outside Switzerland, please contact the ERC national contact person in the respective country. So, if everything is clear, let's start our travel to your ERC Advanced Grant proposal preparation. ERC Advanced Grant, what and why? ERC Advanced Grant are part of the ERC program funded by the European Union Horizon 2020 Framework Program for Research and Innovation. The Advanced Grant is part of different ERC funding depending on the career stage of the applicant. The Advanced Grant is made for established researchers who want long-term funding to pursue groundbreaking projects. Interesting for you can also be the Synergy Grant that is designed to solve scientific projects that are so ambitious that they can be dealt only by teams. There is no Synergy Grant call open for the moment and not probably before 2022. The call for Advanced Grant proposal is currently open since May, with a deadline on the 26th August, 5 p.m. Brussels time. Please note that the deadline is very strict and no exception will be done if you miss it. This call is the last call under the Horizon 2020 program. ERC will continue under Horizon Europe with very similar format as it is under Horizon N20. The next Advanced Grant goal is foreseen for May 2021 with a deadline in August 2021, but it has to be confirmed with the launch of Horizon Europe. Very important is to note that currently the association statute of Switzerland is unclear, meaning that we don't know if Switzerland will be allowed to participate to ERC in the future. But note that if you submit a proposal under this call and you get it, no matter what happens with Switzerland and Europe, your project will be safe. In order not to miss important information related to the Swiss Association, please stay connected to Euresearch. What are ERC projects? An ERC project has quite unique characteristics. It is important to understand the ERC spirit before starting writing an ERC proposal. The ERC projects are novel, creative, and innovative. It means that you have to come up with a new idea that will make substantial advance in the frontiers of knowledge. The excellence of your project and your excellence as leader in your field are the main criteria for assessing an ERC project. The research carried out follows the high-risk, high-gain principle. It means that your project should be risky since you will make new contribution in your field, but at the same time, the feasibility should be very convincing. ERC will be sure that they invest public money in successful projects. The balance between the risk and the feasibility should be well present in your project. Why you should consider ERC Advanced Grant? The ERC grant are very prestigious grant. Besides the funding that is of 2.5 million euro for up to 5 years project, the prestige you will acquire thanks to this ERC grant is unique. ERC is a bottom-up funding program, meaning that any field of research is welcome with an emphasis of the frontier of science, scholarship, and engineering. Proposals with multi- or interdisciplinary nature, which cross the boundary between different fields of research, pioneering proposal addressing new and emerging fields, or proposal introducing unconventional, innovative approach and scientific innovation are encouraged. You will compete among the best researchers based in Europe and will have the opportunity to be assessed by a renowned panel composed of experts in your domain based on their scientific merits. The proposal you will have to submit is relatively short and the procedure is quite straightforward. But I'm sure that you are already convinced about your talent, and if I can share my point of view, what do you have to lose? We don't know about the future of Switzerland and ERC, so what not now? Eligibility criteria. There is no eligibility criteria related to your research years after your PhD, like it is the case for the ERC Starter Grant and Consolidator Grant. But you should demonstrate significant research achievements in the last 10 years. You should already be an established researcher's leaders with a recognized track record of research achievement in the field during the last 10 years, and you can demonstrate the groundbreaking nature, ambition, and feasibility of your proposal. You need also to be formally affiliated to a host institution that will sign a letter to commit itself to support your project. This institution should be in an EU member state or associated country, Switzerland being currently associated to Horizon 2020. You need also to dedicate a certain amount of your time to your project, at least 30%, and work at least 50% in Europe, but you can be of any nationality. If you have questions about your competitiveness, our advice is to have a look at the previous funded advanced grant project. All the projects with their abstracts sorted by domain, call, year, and country can be found on the ERC website. On erc.europa.eu, you have in the navigation the project and figures, where you can find all the projects. Have a look on what has been financed in domain and what is the level of success of the principal investigator, the ERC Advanced Grant grantee. By the way, it will also help you to gain some abstract examples since they are also published on this page. All European projects are published in the so-called CORDIS database, where you will be able to find even more information on the content of the project. At this stage, you are encouraged to evaluate your track record and research independence in order to judge your success in an investing effort in proposals that are unlikely to succeed. Your proposal. Now let's see step by step the different parts of your proposal. We will also share with you some tips on how to structure them according to our experience. It is up to you if you wish to consider them or not. This is your proposal. Before you start writing your proposal, please take some steps to have all the cards in your hand for a successful application. Read the two documents that will guide you through the travel: the ERC Work Program 2020 and the information for applicants. Reading them will also help you to get what are the characteristics of an ERC project. The ERC program will give you more information related to the setting of the ERC program, and the information for applicant will guide you step by step through your application. Once you have acknowledged this document, open your application session on the Funding and Tender Opportunity portal. Get to use it and download the templates of your Part B1 and B2. We advise you to start writing directly into the templates. You can also find all this document in one place on the Euresearch ERC doc website. The composition of your application. There are different parts of an ERC proposal. The Part A are the online form that you should comply directly in the so-called Funding and Tender Opportunity portal. You should register to the platform and open a session for your submission. You can access your session as often as you want. The Part A, Administrative and Summary form, contains some general information. The acronym. Please choose a catchy acronym that you can pronounce. The title. The title is also very important since it gives already a flavor of what your project is about. The duration. Normally, an ERC project is so ambitious that you need 5 years to reach the results. But if for any reason you can do it in less time, this is also fine for ERC. The choice of panel and a second panel if desired, the ERC keyword and free keyword. I will come later to that. The proposal abstract in English from 100 to 2,000 characters. We advise you maybe to write it once your proposal is written, since it is kind of your entry door for the funding. Then you have some host institution information, detail about yourself, and the ethic parts. I will also come later on the ethics. We advise you to submit a first version of your proposal, something around 2 days before the deadline. If you have a last-minute modification, you can always resubmit. Only the last submission will be taken into consideration until the time of the deadline. We recommend you to submit in advance in order to avoid last-minute technical problems. You won't have a second chance. In the part A, I also include the detailed information about your budget and description of resources that are no longer in the B2 anymore, but I will explain you that later also. You also have the annexes to upload the supported document. The letter of host institution is a mandatory document to submit. Please contact your Euresearch regional office in order to get them well in advance. There might be internal procedure to follow and signature might take times over the summer period. Do not add documents such as support letter or quotes. They are not requested at this stage. For your part B, your part B is also composed of two parts. The part B1 is composed of an extended synopsis of 5-page, your CV and track record. Important to know is that this part is evaluated during the step 1 of the evaluation procedure, meaning it is kind of your entry door to your ERC project. It has to be very convincing. The part B2 is composed of your scientific proposal of 15 pages, or your project. This part B2 plus the part B1 plus the budget are both assessed during the step, the three of them are assessed during the step 2 of your evaluation. Everything has to be submitted at the same moment, and there will be no interaction with the panel member during the evaluation. No interview like it is the case for starting and consolidated grant. So let's see now part by part. The part B1, abstract and synopsis. On the cover page, you will have to provide your abstract once again, like in the part A. The rest of the document needs to follow a certain format that is already provided by the ERC. The extended synopsis of 5 pages should be very convincing and focused on your project. The reference do not count towards the page limit. The place is still limited. In general, you cannot avoid repetition between part B1 and part B2, but we recommend you to avoid copy-paste of entire paragraph. Entertain your audience during this part B1. Regarding the CV part, you have a suggested structure to follow in your template. We recommend you to use it, but do not hesitate to add information to support your excellence as a researcher. You will have also 2 tables to complete additionally to the page limit, which is the ongoing grant and the funding application. It is mainly to assess whether you will have enough time for your ERC project, but also that you are able to get funding for your research. Take also time to lay out properly your CV and to have an updated website to link. Here you have a screenshot of the 2 different tables coming from the template. The 10 years track record. This part is often looked up straight after the title and abstract by the panel members. Structure it well and put your name in bold. Do not forget to include the number of citations. List well visible up to 10 publications in a separate section with concise exploratory note on the role of the PI in the publication, as well as the impact on the discipline. Mention the total number of peer-reviewed publications, as well as indexes, if commonly used in your field. List additional publications if demanded important information in the remaining part of your PI section up to the maximum page limit. Whether or not you choose to only 10 publications or use the pace in the PI section to include additional publication is not decisive in our view, as the contribution to the research field should be obvious from the synopsis of the proposal. ERC is not keen on mere quantitative outputs, but look more for independent thinking, creativity, and sign of leadership rather. Plus, as I said, there's often look for information on the PI on the webs anywhere where the publication records should be up to date. So let's see now about your part B2. This 15 page should be structured in a very attractive way. Do not necessarily expect that the panel member or expert will read it from the beginning to the end like a book. Also, do not forget that you are part of several proposals that she or will have to read. So pave the way for them. Make it attractive to read. We can see sometimes that the structure of the objective is not crystal clear or the main objective is missing, etc. Also, do not extend yourself too long during the state of the art. Link it to your project. Present your project early in your document. A figure can save you place, so please do not hesitate to use them in high quality and to add the copyright. Rise excitement. Sell your project. I will now explain you better what is behind the high risk, high gain versus the feasibility concept. The view of panel members that over-ambitiousness may be the main reason for not finding in step 2. Usually, projects with minimal risk but high gain are already done. Parts that are feasible, parts that you expect to be feasible, and parts that you hope to be feasible should be presented. Ideally, what is feasible should already be a breakthrough. Describe risk and contingency plan overall and by sub-project. Ideally, the proposal is composed of sub-projects with different level and risk. It is up to you to find the right balance. Related to the budget, the amount you will get is 2.5 million euro is the maximum amount based on the actual cost of the project. You can also ask for an additional budget of 1 million euro for moving as a result of the ERC grant, purchase of major equipment, access to large facilities, and field work. The 2.5 million euro include the indirect cost, which is 25% of your budget. The rest of the cost will be split among personnel costs and other costs. Since the last ERC advance call, the budget is not part of the B2 anymore, but in the A3 form. It has to be completed here only. Note that the budget will be available to the panel member, but is not an evaluation criteria. New also is the explanation of the resources. It is no longer of the B2, but in this box that you can see on your screen. The tricky point here is that you have a maximum of 8,000 characters that is part of the 15 page of your part B2. Meaning that if you write only 4,000 characters, you will have 40 pages for UB2. If you use all the space in the resources with the 8,000 characters, you only will have 13 pages for UB2. Do not also forget to include the percentage of work you will use for your project. It is mandatory information. A word now on the team members. The PI is the research project PI alone, but can build he or her own teams. The team member can be research staff of any level, PhD, technician, specialist, etc. They can be at the host institution or in another institution. They can be of any age, nationality, or country of residence. And they can also be hosted in a non-EU associated country for the project. We advise you to write a profile profile than individuals, but if you need a certain expertise for a certain person, you can also mention it in your project. Team member must be assigned to project outputs. Their participation must be fully justified in the proposal. Ethics. One word on the ethics part. The ethics assessment is not part of the ERC evaluation, but done by an external committee. At the stage of your proposal, you will have to complete a table which is the A4. If you answer yes to one of these questions, you will have to provide in the support document a brief explanatory note, such as authorization. Let's see now more in detail how the evaluation works and how to convince the panel member to finance your project. Even if the ERC program is bottom-up, you will have to decide to which panel you would like to submit your proposal to. The panels are organized in 3 different domains: PE, Physical Science and Engineering, LS, Life Science, and SH, Social Sciences. You have several panels for each domain that you can find in the Annex 1 of the information for applicant or directly on the ERC website. You will not know who will be in your panel. Just the panel chair is listed on the ERC website. But we know that the set of panels alternate each 2 years, meaning that you can have a look at the panel member in 2018, foundable on the ERC website, and you can maybe Google their name to figure out the background. We estimate that around 2/3 come back. If your project is highly multidisciplinary, you will have also the opportunity to choose 2 panels. Do not contact any panel members during your application or you will be out. Please note that for the future advanced grant call, there will be probably interviews for the step 2 plus changes in the panel. You can have here an overview of the different domain with the different panel. Each panel are linked to more precise keywords that you can find in the information for applicant. The selection of panel and keywords have to be defined quite early in the Part A. Once again, if you are not sure about your panel, check the panel member background and the project finance in your field. ERC can decide to reassign your proposal to a different panel if they judge it necessary. During the step 1, as mentioned, only your Part B1 will be evaluated. It will be evaluated remotely by the panel members, and then a meeting will be organized. So make sure that they will remember your proposal. Then a ranked list will be produced. You will have no idea on where you are on the list, neither we do. You will only get the result if you pass step 1 or not. If you pass, your Part B1 plus B2 plus the budget will be assessed by the panel member plus remote referee in your domain. Then the same procedures applies for the rest of the evaluation. You will get an evaluation report at the end of the evaluation process containing the panel decision as well as the individual comment given by each reviewer. The feedback may help you in case of resubmission to improve your proposal. Proposals marked are ranking from 1, non-competitive, to 4, outstanding. The advantage of ERC is that you know at the time of the proposal preparation the evaluation criteria since they are published in the information for applicant. The answer to this question are what the panel members will have to provide about your proposal. You will have evaluation criteria related to your project and to you as a PI. Please read them carefully And keep them in mind when it's time to write your proposal. For your project, some keywords such as groundbreaking, ambition, feasibility, all these important words can be used in your proposal and help the panel member finding the answer. Let's see now point by point. To what extent does the proposal research address important challenge? This is for B1 and B2. It's related to the challenges in the field of research. To what extent are the objectives ambitious and beyond the state of the art? This is for B1 and B2. Is this to show that you have more than incremental research and that you bring an exciting idea? To what extent is the proposal research high risk and high gain? This is also true for B1 and B2. And here the project should be ambitious enough to be risky, but risk should be always well mitigated. For the scientific approach, to what extent is the outlined scientific approach feasible, bearing in mind the extent that the proposed research is high risk, high gain? So realistic, feasible project outcome, even if they are risky. To what extent are the proposed research methodology and working arrangement appropriate to achieve the goal of the project? Here, the research question has to be properly addressed. To what extent does the proposal involve the development of novel methodology? Proposal opens new research. To what extent are the proposed timescale, resources, and PI committed adequate and properly justified? Here it's linked to the project milestone, the checkpoint, and the resource justification, not necessarily on the budget itself. So related on you, as a principal investigator, we can find to what extent has the PI demonstrated the ability to conduct groundbreaking research? This is linked to your publication, your grants, the project you get, etc. To what extent does the PI have the required scientific expertise and capacity to successfully execute the project? Here it's linked to achievement that support the scientific task you are proposing and evidence you can give to the time commitment. To what extent has the PI demonstrated sound leadership in the training and advancement of young scientists? Highlight how you have helped progress the career and research of more junior researchers. ERC funding are very competitive, but not impossible, especially for Switzerland. The success rate for the entire procedure is around 12%, but if you pass step 1, it is higher for step 2, around 30 to 50%. So strengths your part B1. Important to know is also that the success rates are more or less equal for each panels. So once you submit everything, what will happen then? You can find the template of the evaluation procedure on the ERC website. Here is a summary. You should get the result of the step 1 by the 25th January 2021 and the final result by April 2021. If you are successful, you will enter in the so-called grant agreement preparation phase, the GAP, and solve the ethics concerns. Normally, if everything went smoothly, you should be able to start your project by August 2021. But we currently don't know under these particular times. You can postpone a little bit the start of your project if you wish, under certain conditions. Your Euresearch regional office will support you also during this phase. In case you fail, remember that there are currently no guarantee regarding the eligibility of Switzerland for the next call. But according to your score, you can get restriction. Indeed, if you have a C as step 1, you will not be able to apply for the next 2 advanced grant calls. If you get a B as step 1, 1 call year. More detail on that can be found in the information for applicant. So that was it for the submission part. I allow myself to list you here again the important document for your submission. I hope that you get a clear overview on how your submission should look like and some useful tips. In order to encourage you for your submission, we will have a look at some different statistics related to advanced grants. So the best countries are normally Germany, the UK, and France, but Switzerland is among the best associated countries. Here, you can see the number of grants acquired by host institution countries in 2018 and 19. Here, you can see the number of funded grantees per panel and gender for the last call. Some panels have more successful projects, but remember that the budget is more or less equal for each panel. Within Switzerland, the federal schools get the most of the grants, but as you can see, we can also find some research institutes outside the universities. So I conclude here my presentation. I would like to thank you very much for your attention and for having done this trip through the ERC proposal with me. Here are our contact details to mention it again that we will be happy to support you at any stage of your application. I wish you all the best for your proposal writing, and I'm convinced that even you are not successful, and hopefully not after this presentation, it is worth giving a try. My colleague Katja remains available for several minutes to answer your questions. I would like also to kindly ask you to quickly assess this webinar by answering a couple of questions thanks to the link that you will find in the chat or in the follow-up email that you will get after this webinar. Thank you again, and I wish you a very nice ERC adventure. Goodbye.